Hi everyone! Today we are going to look at the assignment guidelines and rubric for your final paper. We start working on the final paper in a couple of weeks, and we start with the annotated bibliography and then move on to the literature review and the rough draft. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up and get you started on that because waiting until the end is always a little bit tricky. So here we have the assignment guidelines and rubrics, and we're going to click on the final project. So for this final project, you are actually going to use a thesis statement rather than a question, research, find the answer type of paper. So for your thesis statement, you are going to, first of all, for your topic, you are going to look here at research topic. So these are the different elements that you are allowed to choose from. So we've got quite a few different choices. So let's just say we are going to go with age-appropriate milestones and anomalies. So if this is going to be the topic you want to choose, then you are going to find research articles that discuss age-appropriate milestones and anomalies. You will use this Shapiro library to find at least two peer-reviewed articles for your annotated bibliography. And then when you move into the literature review, you will either need to find two new peer-reviewed articles, or you will need to do one new peer-reviewed article and then further research one of the previous ones you used on your bibliography. And the reason I say this is because when you get to the rough draft, to meet the exemplary requirements for research, you must have more than two peer-reviewed articles. So if you use the same two articles for your literature review as you used for your bibliography, you will lose 15% right away. So it's very important that you realize you need to at least have three peer-reviewed articles by the time you start to write your rough draft. So it's easier to just start with two in your bibliography, add two for your research paper, and then you're set for your rough draft, or for your literature review, and you're set for your rough draft. So these are just some of the requirements and guidelines that you can read through. It gives you a format of how you're going to turn it in. These are the criteria for the rubric when it comes to the final paper. You can look through on that. So we are going to go back and start with the annotated bibliography. And you'll notice here that they give you an sample right here. So when you write your annotation, this is going to talk about what the article talks about. And then I know this is a little different from some of your other classes, but you are actually going to copy and paste the abstract from the author right into your annotated bibliography. So you'll have the reference in APA format, then you'll have the annotation, and what goes into the annotation is right here in the rubric. So you want to identify the information, then you're going to talk about the main points of the article and the conclusions. You want to make sure that there are at least two articles in your annotated bibliography and that you look for any errors. So if you read through, proficient, needs improvement, this kind of tells you how you can meet these requirements. And so that, just make sure you don't forget this abstract. A lot of people leave this out because they're not used to putting the abstract in. So that's why I like to do this video, just to kind of show you what needs to go into that annotated bibliography. And then when we get into the literature review, we have, again, here are the things you want to address. Where did you find the article? Was it valid? What references did the author use? Was there research? Now make sure when you're looking for articles, you want to find articles that have research, empirical data. If you're doing a article or a topic on, how does geography affect development? Does your location, does it matter when it comes to, adolescent development? You want to find articles that actually have done studies on that. You don't want to find an article that just talks about it. So for this paper, you need to actually have articles with empirical data, studies that have been done that have firm conclusions. And when if you want to look in the general questions board, you'll see a sample literature review. So you want to make sure that you talk about this and you put this in the form of a literature review, not question and answer. So I don't want you to copy these questions and then just go answer them in the literature review. You need to formulate an analysis using these questions. This is just the type of information that should go into that. So that is going to be the literature review. And then we are going to also take a look at the rough draft. So what I was saying here is incorporates more than 2 scholarly references. And those are the peer-reviewed articles. Don't use Psychology Today. Don't go to Google and search for articles that say, it's okay to use for adolescents to use Facebook. Those are not peer-reviewed. It's not scholarly information. And in psychology, we are looking for studies that show facts and that have empirical data. So make sure you use the Shapiro Library and look for peer-reviewed articles. So this is just the rough draft rubric. This is what I'm going to use to grade your rough draft. And then just like the other assignments, you can go into the discussion and general questions, sample assignments, and here is where you will find the bibliography, the literature review, the final paper. If we click on this final paper and open it up, so in here you will notice that they start with a thesis statement and move into an introduction, integrating the articles, adding the discussion, lots of integration following with the conclusion, attaching the annotated bibliography and the original literature review, followed up by references. So you'll notice the literature review and the annotated bibliography are at the end of your paper. This literature review that you write, this is not the meat and bones of your paper. So although in other courses, I know you've kind of built your assignment as you've gone along and then you just turn it in at the end, this is one class where they did not design the rubric or the course that way. So you will do an annotated bibliography and you will do a literature review. And the point of those assignments is just to make sure that you know what you're looking for in your articles so that you can write your rough draft. Now you'll notice this paper from beginning to finish is about 19 pages, but the actual meat and bones from thesis statement to conclusion, let's look and see, is only 7 pages. 8, I guess. So I'm not looking for necessarily how long you can write. I want to just make sure you get the content correct. So once you come up with your thesis statement and your topic, and then begin working on your paper, it's always my suggestion that as you're writing that literature review, write it in a way that you can turn that into your rough draft. So in your rough draft, you're not going to say necessarily, well, there were limitations to the study such as this, and this, but that can easily be taken out once you're ready to get that into your rough draft. So when you're writing your literature review, you might say, Smith and Jones 2018 conducted a study with 39 participants. They followed them for 6 weeks, notating the bus route and just the different geography based um, information that you're looking for in your paper. And then when it gets to the end, you already have written about the study and you can use that in your rough draft. So if that doesn't make any sense, please send me an email and I will clarify even further. Or take a look at the general question. You can pull this paper up in the general questions board and read through it and see how the literature review is very similar to the discussion part of your paper, because the student here took the information from the literature review and then just turned it into the body of her paper. So I guess that's basically the gist of this recommendation, is that when you write your literature review, you realize that you're going to turn that literature review into the body of your paper. So this final paper, it will look like a regular research paper once you are finished with it. You will not use your week 5 literature review and put that into the body of your paper in week 6. You will need to write a rough draft after you have written your literature review. So like I said, if you have any questions about that, we can talk over the phone. You can send me an email, whatever would be best. And that pretty much sums up the final paper. Like I said, there's an example right there on the general questions board. You can look at the rubrics in your course room, and definitely reach out if you have any other questions. Thanks. Have a great day.